Good Tuesday evening. Good evening on this beautiful Tuesday, everyone. Spirit of 420 here because everything I do is so 420. It is lovely to be here again. Um, had a nice 3 days off. I did enjoy it. I won't deny, but what a crazy 3 days that was. I'll tell you that. In that span of time, not only did I get a disappointing replacement for my computer, but a replacement nonetheless. I also um, got new internet put in like I told y'all I would, but that was so different than what I signed up for. We are now in a day and age where the bait and switch uh, is never more alive and kicking than it is now. Let's just say it that way. So I will start with the basics. All right. Oh, by the way, I thought this was funny. I brought some pop rocks tonight. I may have a few pop rocks tonight. The first thing, let's start off here. If you have spirituality and you pray, please send out a prayer for both myself and more importantly, my friend Joe. If you do not pray, but you believe in, karma or energy, whatever, then um, please feel free to send over some positive energy to Joe and myself. Aside from that, um, also remember to do these same things for yourself. But I was hoping that maybe you could add me in this evening. But more, I'm sorry, add Joe in this evening. Me to boot, but more importantly, Joe. He is going through, I would say, definitely a tougher time than myself right now. So, it could always be worse. And I remember that one of the things that happens when you see a friend, going through it is it's also a time to be thankful and grateful. And it's not that I'm grateful that Joe is going through shit. I'm grateful that I am not currently going through the type of shit that he is, but he needs good positive energy sent his way. I don't like to air anybody's dirty laundry, but it's personal, so I won't air the laundry. But it's of a personal nature, and when it's so personal that it affects every facet of his life. So he could really use some positive energy and some prayers sent his way. Aside from that, uh, as the title says right there, I was gonna I was gonna do my normal thing and do it funkuzed, befuddled, and then leave perplexed but I was also thinking about though if I did it, it would be plurpexed, right? I thought about doing that, and maybe I'll go back and change it. Who knows? I didn't know if anybody would get it, right? So I love saying that one all the time, though. I say it with my family all the time. I am so confused. Um, anyway, so new job is where most of my confusion, bewilderment, befuddlement, perplexed. It's stemming from there. So it's funny. I talked to um, yesterday. Yesterday, I had my appointment with my psychiatrist, right? Who, funny enough, I need to go take my Lexapro when I get off this call. I forgot to take it today. But this is the doctor that prescribes me the Pexlero, right? Whatever. Pexlero. There we go. Lexapro, Pexlero. That's not easy to say. It's almost a tongue twister. One of the first questions she asks, and has been lately, just because we don't talk to each other for like generally about, I think it's 90 days now. So, one of her questions to me is always, "Have you had any thoughts of suicide?" Blah blah blah. But then she goes on to ask, excuse me, um, am I going to therapy? Am I getting any therapy? And I told her this time, I was like, because if you remember, I took a hiatus, uh, quite a hiatus. I think it was maybe 5 months or something. I can't remember. I'm not going to sit here and worry about it right now because that doesn't matter. I took a hiatus, right? And since talking to her last, I have come back to streaming. And I told her, I was like, really, streaming is my therapy, right? And I was like, it's more of obviously more of a personal therapy in the sense that I'm the one doing it. But the fact is, when I come on here and I talk about the difficulties of life, or talk about the problems that I'm having, or the issues I'm facing, right? I hope that most of y'all see what I always end it with is either the solution itself, and most of the times that is there, but either or excuse me, both the solution itself and, even more importantly, what I always add is the um, either the positive that I see coming out of it, or I always end it with the fact that it will it will ignite, it will be the catalyst to a greater moment in the future. Sometimes it happens right away. Balance is funny. Sometimes it corrects itself immediately. Other times it's a slow process, right? What I mean by slow process is sometimes it takes, just a good amount of time for the positive to have happened from the negative. But the reality is, if you're looking, and I think most of you will agree with this. So if something bad happens, if you start to look at the ripple effect of what happened, it really doesn't take too long to see some positives. The one I'm talking about, and why I say it takes time, is there's positives coming right out of a negative moment, like almost immediately, right? But there will be a moment in time in the future, and this usually has some time, that is a greater positive moment than that negative moment, which then counterbalances, and then it comes back around. So what I have experienced is, when you have that great moment, then you're going to have some bad moments, and the whole difference between I think angry people, maybe, I don't want to say depressed because I'm going through depression, but the depression is not based on this. There's different types of depression. So we could say some depressions, right? Some depressions. I don't know how to say that. So, when you come back, when you see something bad happen in your life, for those who are, I don't know, it's not necessarily even happier or hatred, right? It's I guess those who understand it and don't dwell on it, because of the fact they know that something around the corner is going to change the ebb and flow of the whole thing, so that there's constantly balance, right? And I know that some of y'all, I'm sure some of y'all are, and even maybe some of the people who were there, I don't know. Some people, and no question, they're like, what about these extremely successful people who are worth $1 billion? Well, first of all, you're putting money as the number one factor of success, right? Or the number one factor of happiness, I should say. in my world, money does not buy the happiness. Money is something that we have to make in order to survive in this world, and then we can either make a lot of it and do stuff with it, or make just enough to get by. Um, Me personally, I have a family, so I like to make enough to take care of all my family, and then also take care of other people as well. Even do other things. I try to do. I'm not a millionaire by any stretch, but on those, let's say, normal years, I have an abundance, and so I try to give that back. Right. That type of person sees a bad incident completely different than, say, the individual who, and I don't want to use money. So let's say you have that same individual that is making the same amount that I'm making, right? However, their outlook on life is not one of that there's balance, but let's just say this particular person, they fall in that belief of, why is this happening to me, or everything happens to me, or it all goes wrong, right? I say this because you really do have, it's not just two types, but, or even three, but for example's sake, I'm really going to boil the population down to three types. You have people that, completely get that. You have people that don't get it. And then you have people right in the middle, right? Because some people are indifferent. I mean, we're in a world where you're going to have indifference. So if you're a person who sees the balance and understands it, then you tend to let bad shit roll off of you, and enabling you to celebrate the good stuff. But you also notice that these people that you consider to be very successful are usually not doing it in a gloating way. It's almost like, okay, I got this now. What can I do to continue? You have to continue learning. Number one, you're gonna have problems. What's really funny is these people that most folks consider successful based on money, they end up having problems you don't understand. I know that because I've had that kind of money. When you have the more money, that it's an old adage, right? More, even a rap song, right? More money, more problems. More money, more problems. More money, more problems. There we go. But it is an actual fact. Okay. The more money that you're making, and the more money that actually, no, let me scratch the second part out. So the more money you're making, and the more people that you oversee due to your money, right? Like whether you become manager, director, CEO, whatever, or even start the company, you definitely have more problems. One thing that's funny is, even if you're, say the president, CEO of just a small company, the problems that you have with that are a ton, because you're the one taking care of all the problems, right? So those are a ton. The small business person typically is having, and they go through it. Now, don't get me wrong. Getting back to those two different types of people, two different types of people. A small business person who understands the balance and does not feel like everything happens to them, right, will end up getting through that time. And most of the time, unless something drastically strange happens, it's that kind of mentality that is going to weather the storm and get them through. Because when there's a problem, they'll find a solution. They know there's always a solution, and there is always a solution, right? The other kind of person that says, why, woe is me, and boo-hoo, and all that. Well, first of all, they're not going to, let's take first somebody working in my position, right? That's simply an employee. Yes, I have another company, but we're talking about my employee status with this one. When you're an employee, you have to meet all the company standards, right? And those have to align with your own personal standards. In that first scenario, the kind of person I'm talking about whether it's a business owner or me, is somebody who rolls with the punches, number one, somebody who learns from every mistake, number two. This is also the same person that understands bad times are going to happen and they're going to be coupled with good times. It's just the reality, and you learn from both, right? This person over here only sees the negative. And what I mean by that is they don't pay attention to the positive because they're so wrapped up and, believing that it's somebody's out to get them or the universe is out to get them, which the universe is out to get me, by the way. But they're so wrapped up in the shit that's going wrong. And I say this is not, I'm not making this up. I'm not, what's the word? I say this from pure experience. When I meet somebody like this, or I see somebody going through this and I try to talk to them, right? One of the things I will say is, well, didn't this happen today? Like, didn't you get this today? Like, I have talked to people who are in that mood and they got a promotion that day. I'm not kidding, right? They got a promotion at work, but because everything else in their world is going bad, that, life just sucks. What's up, brother? I know you do. She is doing much better. Here, I'll just show this real quick. I know you always have my back. I appreciate that. And yes, she is doing, with each day, she's doing better. And all I can tell you is she's moving around more and more. She still hasn't got an x-ray, but hey, that's another conversation. So again, if you're the kind of person that only sees the bad, or I should say, if you're the kind of person that feels like the world is out to get you and nothing goes right for you and everything goes wrong for you, you will literally create that in two ways. One, you won't see the good things that are happening and the good things right in front of you. And two, you're putting out this negative energy, so you're just going to attract more negativity. And now when it comes to how does this pertain to what I titled tonight's show? Well, that's a good question, because I'm actually this kind of person, right? And let me say, if there's a scale of the indifference in the middle, right, 0 to 100, I would say that I'm probably around that 70 mark. I mean, I still have a long way to go to get to 100, and I don't suspect that I ever will get to 100 in this lifetime, because in my opinion, that would kind of be like complete enlightenment, right? I have gotten to an extremely stoic place where I understand good and bad. And what I mean by that is it's not necessarily good and bad. It's just some situations suck and hurt more than other situations that feel very incredible. Both of them are learning opportunities, and both bring about the other, I'm not going to sit here and try to get into an example, but I'll give you two examples. Okay. So, and these are hard, and I don't mean to be rude, but what I'm about to say is a hard thought, but it happens, right? It literally happened to me. So I'm going to speak from experience, right? It's not to hurt your feelings. It's not to make anybody down. I'm just speaking facts. One of the greatest days that my son ever had was the day that he got that bike back on the road. He had tore it down, rebuilt it. Like, what he did to it was awesome. Like, it was 2000, but you would have thought that it walked off the showroom floor the day that he got it, right? It was an extremely proud moment. I was proud. His mom here and his grandmother, his brother, like everybody was proud. And it killed him, right? So this moment that was created with him getting a bike and all the great things that he did, because it wasn't just that he got a bike, it was the fact that this dude got a bike, he tore it down, he rebuilt it, and he truly learned motorcycles from the inside out as a mechanic, and then was a natural rider, right? It ended his life here, right? Now, taking that same example, him dying introduced me to two incredibly beautiful people who are now part of my family, right? And there's still more to come, because I do not feel like what I have experienced yet has been such an overwhelming amount of joy that I would say it was more joy or equal joy to the pain that I felt of losing my son. But there has been so many positives already, right? So I can either, and if this was somebody else, then what's funny is when it happened, God, I can't remember how many people. I was like, this is very encouraging, guys, and you're really being motivated. It kind of baffled me, the number of people that are like, yeah, most parents are broken by that, like they don't come back, that like in the sense that they don't recover, and yada yada. And I was like, man, that again, this is not what I would call, an encouraging setup for the for the future. Of course, that said, for me, what there's something from my motivational app that I loved, and it's funny because they said it so perfect in there. I already knew it, but the way they said it was so. Don't tell them your plan, right? Show them your. Fuck it. I'm really upset now because I can't remember. I mean, you guys know I love action over words, and that's the bottom line. Is basically don't tell them what you're going to do. Don't tell them how you're going to do it, or any of that. Show them with the results, right? Show them with results. So, and I'm not perfect at this, folks, but I mean, I try to, right? Oh, goodness. Yep, that's a so 420 moment, because I literally, it all just flew out the window. Like, I can't even tell you, but it's gone. I know that. I'm sure that it'll come back to me in a moment as I start talking about something else, which it does 99% of the time. Say lovey. Oh, so I could have either used those words to, what's the word? Ensure, right? That I was gonna fail, that this was gonna break me, or I could use them to motivate me and go, putting that thought process that I just talked about, actions over words, right? Putting that into action, going, okay, rather than tell them how I'm not going to, I'm just going to show them that I'm not broken, right? Or show them that if I am broken, it's merely a matter of time that I am fixing it, right? I prefer to think of the, there was a really good one. I even wrote this one down. This was mine. It's something like, I'm not broken. I'm blah, blah, blah. The second part is just beyond me right now. But the point is, rather than being broken, it is a opportunity and a platform for me to gain strength, become stronger, and be an even better. So, one of the beautiful things about humans, and this is down to our very core, right? Physically, mentally, it's who we are. If we break something down, it always comes back stronger, right? You tear down your muscle, that's how you build it and make it stronger. Because what happens is, it's just like think about infection, right? The more we fight off infection, the stronger our immune system gets against all infections, and then particularly that when it comes to a particular infection, then you even many times get immunity, but your immune system is gaining strength with everything that it encounters. It gets even stronger when it encounters something that kicks its ass, right? Okay, well, then I got to change up the plan. And that's the whole concept. I mean, this is who we are when you think about sports, right? What is halftime adjustments? Nothing more than this. You're kicking my ass. Any good team that truly knows how to assess what's happened in the first half of a contest, you know, that, and let's, in this example, they got their ass handed to them, right? Any team that's had its ass handed to them in the first half, but is a solid team, is going to make adjustments and come back and make it a game. Doesn't necessarily mean they'll always win, but they're going to show the other team, hey, we figured out what you were doing. Now we've got a few tricks up our sleeve. And that's really the whole point of anything. So with every break that we have mentally, right, physically, emotionally, we become stronger in that regard. So, you know, knowing that that's the reality and knowing the type of person that I am, what I ended up doing tonight was talking about those things, because those are the things that I need to hear when I'm allowing myself to, in my head, listen to my own stinking thinking, right? I learned that term back in AA, back when I was 17. I've always loved it because it accurately describes what we do to ourselves a predominant amount of the time. Not all the time. Okay. And just like I was talking about examples, right? Here's where my depression hurts me. My conscious thought, right? My conscious outspoken thought, let me say that. My conscious spoken thought and messages are that of positivity and, you know you can do it, da da da. And these are the truths, right? I know these are the truths. But what happens throughout the day in here, what am I telling myself, right? What do I mean by what am I telling myself? Just that. You know, if something doesn't go right, what do I end up doing many times? Now, this is where, as I said, you know, everybody breaks down. So where I'm getting stronger now, right, is to overcome that stinking thinking. If somebody is just talking to me and telling me that I'm down, that doesn't, I know that sounds funny, but that doesn't bother me. I can deal with that. I literally have retort after retort, and I have no problem in a verbal debate, right? Where I have issues, like many people, is the debate that goes on between, you know, Spirit 420 and So 420, for instance, right? Same person, but two slightly different versions. One is kicking my ass, and one is trying to fight for, you know, a positive outcome and a positive outlook. So what does all this mean? Well, I had my first bad day at work. When I say bad day, you're going to love this. Not one person said I did anything wrong. Not one manager, like nothing. Okay. This is where I've allowed myself to go based on some of the things that were done. One of them, for instance, I didn't even notice that. That's funny. Sky, you're cheating. You're telling everybody that I had the TV on. I'm going to leave it on because I have the TV on, but I have a speaker on, and y'all can't hear the music. So anyway, so I had, being that it's my first bad day, it's my worst day so far, right? And it was a day where nobody said that I did anything wrong. Nobody complained about anything that I was doing that I know of, right? Although I guess there was one, and what I mean by that is I had um, company logo, funny enough, company logo and a couple other things in my signature, and somebody went into my signature on my email and changed it. So I was like, that is really what started it. And what I mean by that is so let me give you a for instance of what I mean by stinking thinking, right? I took that and just allowed it to turn my day upside down. You know, now, granted, I will say this: I had a hell of a day today, folks, because as you know, Quantum was supposed to get installed today. It did get installed, although I was very upset about a lot of things because it was not what I signed up for. Like I told you, it was the go fact switch, and I don't. We've already been going for 31 minutes, so I don't even want to know if I want to talk about it and rehash it, but I've got an issue going with Quantum Fiber. I have an issue going with Assuron, where both of these companies are just being companies and not being true to their words, right? Both of these things happened, unfortunately, for me, before I saw the signature change. So when I saw the signature change, like in my head, I'm like, Jesus, I'm going, like, they're going to fire me. It's over. What have I done? Why? What's the big deal? Who the hell are they? I mean, there's just so many, like, from one extreme of being questioning it to being angry and offended. The list is a laundry list, right? When you do that, it is a waste of energy and a waste of time. And here's the other thing. Even if something that you thought in there was correct, you are 99% incorrect. 99%, right? Because almost everything you thought in that, in reference to that, when it comes to something in like that, particularly like I did, was wrong, and the only way to know the truth is to just find out, right? But that not to the worst thing that someone can do. And it is something that I'm learning, working hard not to do, because I don't do this when I'm at the top of my game in regards to confidence, right? And simply put, if I'm feeling extremely confident, then you can rest assured I'm not going to sit there and question everything that I do or everything that happens, because it just won't matter as much. I have this piece of skin that, y'all ever get that just like a little dead piece of skin on your finger, and all you want to, like, I just got to get rid of it. I'll have to. It is really bugging me. It's when you allow something like that to interrupt your day, that's when your depression is working, double time against you, right? And you have to go, okay, you have to take a step back, which is, I'm talking to myself, really. So it's what I did today. Exactly what I'm telling you is exactly what I did. Now, you can, what's the word? You don't have to pray, but you can say a meditation and do a, what's the word I'm looking for when you do affirmation, right? So you can meditate and say an affirmation of the exact, same thing that essentially, I prayed for. And that was, I prayed to relieve this stinking thinking, put me back on the path. I know that whatever is happening is what is supposed to happen, no matter what, anyway. So why am I making such a damn big deal out of it anyway, right? And I knew, what's funny is, right when I did that, I was like, I'm going to talk about it on tonight. I'm definitely going to talk about it tonight's show, because it's, to me, the perfect type of topic, in the sense of when you're trying to be different, you have to look at how many Oh, did I finally get that son of a bitch? You have to look at all the different, when you're trying to get different results, you have to do something different in order to do that, right? So in order to do that, it's really, even in human nature, think of it as like A/B testing, right? You try one little thing. If that gets you a better result, then you continue. If it still doesn't give you the result that you were looking for, you keep that change in place, but now you tweak something else. If that makes no difference, then it didn't matter and you can go back to it the other way. So life really is like that. That's, I mean, I've talked about it before, but everything we have, everything we do is all because hundreds of millions of people made shit tons of mistakes before us and wrote down the answers, and then we studied them. So I sometimes what's the word? Some of these things I would like to go and talk to some of my coworkers about, right? But I have learned that, and I am not saying not to trust. There's a reason that we talk about don't shit where you eat, right? This works both ways. Not only is it a good habit to leave your work behind at the end of the day, right? When it's time to spend with family or eat or whatever. But on the same note, it's important to leave your life on the other side when you're working. And what I mean by that is if you share too much, it inevitably always hurts you. If you try to, and I don't care how close they get. Heed my words, folks, because what happens is people have weaknesses, people have shortcomings. People in business, for doesn't matter whatever business they are, it's about the money. And if they find out that you have a shortcoming that they feel could be, let's say, not just detrimental to the company, but in some way hold the company liable in another regard, right? Or in some, and trust me, there's a thousand ways that this can happen. Let's say it is a really solid company that even is under the whole, they're corporate, right? So they completely run the HR department by the corporate, right? So I know most of y'all know what I'm talking about here. If you're in that type of situation and someone finds out that weakness, I'm not saying that they're going to fire you right away. But what's going to happen, particularly if you are in a right to work state, right? I won't say that this is guaranteed to happen, but this scenario I've seen happen way too many times, not just to myself, but to family members, friends, and people that I know, right? Something gets divulged. At some point, I don't care if we're talking, CEO and COO, right? At some point, there is heat between those two because they have now shared so much, and then something bad is going to transpire from it. That's the only way that I know how to say it. Like, it's not going to be good. And that only happened because too much of the personal life was allowed to be known in the business world. I've always felt like business already knows way too much as it is. Like the whole HR, I don't know. I it's funny. I took these assessments and from the job that I am, but I highly disagree with them because I truly believe people's portfolio speaks for themselves, and that's what should really be looked at, not what a computer test says about them. Any test that is, whether it's cognitive or maybe what's aptitude. There's all kinds of different. I've taken all of them, right? If you're good at something, you're good at it not because you were put into that box so long ago, but simply because you have honed your skills and worked on it. You know, for me right now, it's a lifetime. Man. I think about it. It's scary how much time I've been working, and I have no intentions of ever quitting work ever until I was just talking to my doctor until this is gone, right? Until I can't use this. This is the only tool I really need, especially today. So even if my hands go bad, you have text, you have Siri and text to, or excuse me, talk to text between the two, and not just Siri, but like, let's just put it this way. Okay. So you have AI there, and where is it going to be in the next couple of years? Hey, write me a poem, Siri, about blah, blah, blah. So in a nutshell, which is far too far, well gone from now. Nutshell would have been like what, I don't know, 40 minutes ago. Um, did I just see that? Did y'all? By the way, I know nobody's going to answer because most of y'all are on Twitter, but you can leave me a comment if you get this. But have you seen any kind of quality issues, like with the picture or like skipping or anything like that? Just let me know. Uh, any hooch. What happened today? Ultimately, it was a bad. Like I said, it was my worst day with work, but it was because it was my worst day in here with my job, right? And um, I allowed ego and pride. I mean, if people are being honest, then they got to be honest, right? And I try to be very transparent. So I allowed ego and pride because that's really where the stinking thinking comes from. I allowed to get the best of me. It's okay when these things happen. You just have to learn from them, right? The most important thing, and I do mean the most important thing, is that you learn from the experience. Every experience brings you something. And you may not think of it that way, but it really does. Start looking at, I'm not talking about just walking outside and getting the newspaper and coming in, right? Or even taking the dog for a walk. I'm talking about like, you know, experiences. I would say that this even goes to, let's say, um, pretty much doing any kind of research, right? Buying any significant purchase, any significant relationship of any kind, right? Anything that you're doing with those people, right? Even if it's your wife who you've been with for years and you go out and do something, it doesn't even matter if it's new. You're going to learn something that night because it's a new experience and something will happen that will divulge some new information to you. It happens all the time. And I'll tell you this, if you're into it, and what I mean by that is if you're looking for it, then you will see it because it is what, I preach. Learning is living. And the moment that you stop learning, you're literally just sitting and dying. I don't know if it was y'all I was talking to. I don't think it was. I think I was talking to someone else about this. But the thought of retiring and not keeping this going, man, that honestly, that would be, I would feel like I'm just wasting away. And in fact, I think more and more now. Here's what's funny is you see a lot of guys, gals, people work physical jobs, right? Labor jobs for 30 years and then they retire. But what do you see a lot of them do? And I mean, a lot of them, they go on to do something else. Many of them go back to school. A lot of them will start a business. They do something with, they don't just sit there. I'm not saying some of them don't, man. There's always exceptions to everything, right? I would imagine that probably 1 out of 4 people that retire at the ripe old age of 50 because they put 30 years in with a company starting at 20 and they put 30 years in physical labor and they retire. Some of those people might just sit on their fucking ass. Maybe they feel like they deserve it. They paid for a home, they have a pension, they already paid for cars. All they got to do is buy food and, pay for energy until they die. So I'm not saying that some people don't like that. To me, that's not living. And maybe that part of it is opinion, but here's my fact-based reasoning. If you're learning, your brain, and this is a fact, if you're learning, your brain as a muscle is getting stronger. That's the whole idea behind brain age, right? If you're activating the brain and keeping it going, then you can have a brain that is technically younger acting than the years that you've been here, right? The other way can happen. So, somebody who retires at 50 and let's say after 2 years they've been sitting around, you get their brain age. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the 60s, maybe even 70s. I've seen it. Like they haven't been exercising that muscle. So what happens? The muscle gets old and unused. So if you don't use a muscle, an actual muscle, what happens to it? It goes away, right? I know you guys have seen these dudes who were once like, dude, look at Arnie. Dude was huge at one time. He's not that way now. He's still fit, but he's not like he once was, right? You got to keep working it to keep it that big. That's what she said. But on a very serious note, so the reality is right there. If you are learning, then you are you're still living, and you're creating, you're helping your brain, at least your brain become smarter. But many times, if like, let's say put it into physical or put it into it's still just the brain, but it's different parts of the brain. Maybe you figured out something, mathematically, or you figured out an equation, or you figured out something marketing wise that would work, right? So that exercises the brain. Sometimes it can exercise your brain as well as your emotions, or even mentally, or all three. That was really the only point that I was talking about. Because let's say you take for instance, where you figured something out, even for the job, that could affect you emotionally because you now literally have a better understanding of something. Therefore, you have more confidence, right? So it helps emotionally and mentally, right? I know this may sound stupid and insignificant, but let's say that what you figured out in this particular case, right, was a keyboard shortcut that literally saves you 3 to 5 keystrokes every process that you do, right? That's huge. If you're a a math person, or even if you're a data entry person, you just saved yourself a huge amount of time. So now you've physically gotten better, you've mentally gotten better, and you're emotionally feeling better because of it. So anywho, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take off. I have a feeling that I better check too, because sometimes she'll just not tell me. Oh, there is a text from her. Oh my God, is she done? Oh, okay. I thought maybe the wife was done and I need to go like right away, but I don't. So I love all. You know what? I will do one more dab while I'm sitting here, while I'm telling all of you how much I love you. And I know y'all see it down there, but oh, come on, focus on karmic justice. I think that really says a lot. I made that graphic and came up with that because of the fact that it's, I hope y'all get it, but it literally is the balance, right? That's what the yin and the yang represent, is the balance of nature. And we'll talk about that one day, because I'll do the pie chart that I have and explain what I mean. But it doesn't matter where you slice it, you're going to get even amounts of both sides. However, or you're going to have each side will be equivalent, but in the opposite fashion, which shows you that it's why some people are exceptionally happy and some people are exceptionally I just go with the opposite, unhappy. I'm not even talking about depressed, because depressed does not mean you're unhappy. Unhappy is a whole different thing. We already talked about that. And then you have the people in the middle, right? With the pie cut that I'm talking about, and I'm not going to do it tonight because it's too much to explain, too much to show you. But again, it literally works where, for instance, where it cuts through in one place, you have a huge amount of good, with a small black, but then on the other side, you have a huge amount of black with a small good. To me, that person has the potential to be heavy on either way, and it's, dependent upon who they are as to which way they go. That was what I mean. You always have the equal potential, no matter where you cut it. You have the equal potential for both sides, all the way to the point where you just have literally indifference. You're going to have that. It's just the reality. It wasn't a huge dab, but it was good enough. I love all of you folks. I hope you have a wonderful hump day tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's hump day. So enjoy it, get through it, do what you got to do to come out the other side. What I will say is, when you get up tomorrow, take this one little thing. I've talked about it so many times, and I'll continue to remind myself of it by telling you, wake up and think about something positive, make a positive statement, have a positive moment. Take like, you don't even have to have huge amounts of meditation, folks. You can sometimes get what you need to get done in just 30 seconds of silence and repeated message, right? Just make it a positive. Although I do suggest that you try to do more than 30 seconds. Me personally, I have a thing with 7. So just take 7 minutes in the morning. That's, you're talking about, sorry, I was just thinking about, brain fart, 63. So with 7, it's not even a seventh of an hour. That was the point I was trying to make. You're talking about not even the seventh of an hour. Take 7 minutes for yourself, for positive meditation, right? And then at night, one of the things that will help this, do it tonight. One of the things that will help you wake up, I promise you, I don't think people talk about this enough. Waking up and being positive is important. But going to bed on a positive note is almost equally as important, because if you go to bed on a negative note, I promise you, it is almost a guarantee that you're going to wake up in a negative place, right? So if something bad has happened, maybe you have a fight with the wife, maybe you had the type of day that I had today, and you beat yourself up all day. Maybe you actually did some shit wrong at work and you got beat up at work, like, truthfully, because you were, you fucked up, whatever. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, and one of the things that a lot of people don't do, but this is, you want to talk about a practice of a successful person. Successful people do not fall asleep on the couch and then wake up at 2:00 in the morning and drag themselves up to bed. And the ones that are doing that, they don't, it's all I can tell you is to get to the point where they got to, they weren't doing that. Maybe they are doing that now and they're making so much money that it doesn't matter and you don't see how unsuccessful they are, because if they're doing that, maybe their relationship has gone down the drain because the wife is still going. There could be a ton of things, but I'm telling you, successful people, they have a planned sleep habit. They go to bed essentially with pretty much, with some exception because things just happen, but they pretty much go to bed on a schedule. They know they're going to get a certain amount of sleep. And if you do that, that helps so much, right? But part of that is at bedtime, I get, for me, I pray. If you don't want to pray, that's fine. I get it. But at least have 7 minutes, and I don't pray for 7 minutes. That's not what I'm saying. Take 7 minutes of reflection of the day and go, okay, this is what happened. I'm okay with it. I learned this, and this from it. And tomorrow will be a better day because I will be applying this knowledge. Therefore, I know right now that I'm stronger than I was at the beginning of the day. Make it a positive. This isn't BS either. What I just said is a reality. So that you go, okay, yeah, I did have a shit day, but he's right. I did learn this. I did learn this. Therefore, I am now a little bit smarter than I was at the beginning of the day, which means I'm a little bit stronger mentally than I was at the beginning of the day. And that is a positive, my friend. That is something to build on. Then tomorrow you wake up and you start with positive affirmations of what's going to happen through the day. And I swear, if you do this for a couple of weeks, you will start to see it's not some immediate change. You've got to keep it going. You got to get that positive. What's up, man? How you doing, brother? Appreciate it, bro. You have got to do it. You've got to stay committed. And what do I mean by that? Let's look at like a ball player, right? Take baseball, just because they play so many games and things move a lot faster, where they play like 5 games in a week, something, right? If you're a baseball player and you're trying to change something, if you ever notice, baseball players don't go into a one-day slump, right? They go into many times what is like a week to maybe even a couple weeks of a slump, and then you see them come out of it with continual adjustments. You can't have a bad situation and then just immediately turn around and think that it's going to absolutely affect. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't happen all the time. Let me be very clear on that. If you're talking about implementing change in your job, then that's an immediate change and you can see it, right? I'm talking about a change in your thought process. You have got to work on it. Subconsciously, you're fighting yourself and you don't even realize it. So consciously, you have to keep telling yourself, these positive affirmations. That's why it's important to go to bed having told yourself and found the positives in the day. That way you wake up and you start with positives in the day. You keep doing that repeatedly. It becomes a habit. You do it for a month. Then it literally is a true habit, right? Then if you do it for 6 months, there's something more to it. I can't remember or 3 months, there's something else to it. But either way, the longer you do it, but the first 30 days is really vital. The first 4 weeks, 28 days, excuse me. Doing that every day is vital to build the habit. But usually within sometimes 1 to 2 weeks, you will start to see serious results in your life. You will be happier. You will be more respectful of yourself. You will be more aware of what you have and how good it actually is, rather than what you don't have and how bad your life sucks, right? That's one of the worst things that we can can do. So let me change that. One of the best things, one of the best practices that we can do in this world, one of them, by the way, is always look for the positive and state that versus what not to do, right? So state what to do. That way you're stating what you want to happen. And in this case, I think I just forgot. Oh, shedingles. Does that mean I have to do another dab? I think it does, Mon Frere. I think it does. What I can tell you, and maybe it'll come back, is building it, you will start to see results usually within a week or two. A lot of people make a mistake at that point and they feel like they've got it down. Please continue to do it. Continue on the path. State the positives. What the heck was I going to say? An awfully green suit. That's not what I was going to say. I just looked at the... Oh, I wish my brain would just, gonna have to do some Sudoku or something, not exercising it enough. Or maybe it's just tired from all the exercise that it's had today. What I can tell you is here, I'm going to use my day as an example. Yes, I had a lot of, not even a lot, actually. It was only at the end of the day. So it wasn't like, it was kind of good timing because it's not how I started my day at all. I started my day positively. In fact, I was really excited, got up like really early because they were supposed to be here early. And that was the beginning of Bad News in Paradise. As they got here an hour and a half into the first appointment of the day. I want to ask that for a minute. Hold on. I've been dealing with cable installers and internet installers for fucking decades now. And maybe I'm crazy, but the one thing you can usually count on when you're the first appointment of the day, when you're that first one, is that they're going to be there. Let's say, if not early and not on time, within maybe 15 or 10, 15 minutes of the time is usually the worst I've seen. This guy today, who was a nice guy, he was really nice. I'm not saying that. I didn't even get the text from the company until like an hour after it was supposed to be there. And then it said they were on their way. And then I get a call from him 10 minutes later or 15. They were like texting the instructions. I was like, please text me when you're, outside so I can put the dogs up. I get a call, not a text. I get a call like 15 minutes later. And the guy's like, yeah, I'm leaving now. I'll be over there in about 15 minutes or so. Guy got here like an hour and a half into a 3-hour appointment. And I was the opening appointment of the day. That in and of itself baffled me. I'm not saying that started my day bad. As a matter of fact, it rolled right off. I was okay with it. It was after he got here and just started. It was like, I'll just give you a for instance. First, he had to put a whole new line in, so he couldn't use the existing point that I had where I wanted it to go. Number one. Number two, they didn't have what I ordered in the sense of the equipment. I was supposed to get a modem with a wireless router that included these 360 pods is what they call it, right? That wasn't there. Then come to find out the pods work differently. All I can tell you is it was literally one thing after another. And I was like, okay, I want to get this in. Even the dude who, like I said, he was really nice and God bless him. But like, he was to the point where it was crazy, because after we got through all these stupid things, and he even had to run and get some of these stupid pods, he was like, your neighbor's thing is locked. I can't get back there. I was like, what about if I put a ladder up to my side of the fence? And he was like, we're not allowed to do that. And I was like, what if I get permission from him? I can get him on the phone. What if I get permission from him? Are you okay with doing it? He's like, you know what? I just want to get this effing job done. I was like, okay, man. So you're cool with it? Luckily, I called my neighbor, and he was like just right around the corner. So he was just right around on a, he was only 10 minutes from here. So very quickly he got back and unlocked the gate, and all was well. But it was funny, dude. I'm telling you, man, the guy was as frustrated, and both of us were really polite to one another, because how do I say it? It's like two people that have no control over the situations that are causing the problems are trying to work together to just get through it. And I know that it wasn't his fault. He is a tech. He makes no decisions. He doesn't, all he does is look at my work order, or he doesn't even look at my work order. He literally gets instructions from them on what to do. Right. So the problem really lied with the company. But what I will say is he and I both, I think we did pretty well. Neither one of us left angry at the other, and he was really nice. And I would say that the morning episode, it like ate up what tolerance I had for the day. Does that maybe make sense? So with that said, I do love all of you. I hope that y'all have a beautiful hump day. I'll be back on Thursday. Oh, no. You know what? I'm going to be here tomorrow. Holy shit. Stoner, I almost forgot. I will actually be going live tomorrow at 7:10 on the dot. Why? Because tomorrow's 7:10. So I will absolutely be on and have some concentrates and a little discussion. I don't think I'll be on for very long, but it is 7:10, and I have to stream because I missed 420 this year. So to me, the spirit is on both days. Anyway, I love all of you folks. I hope that you have a beautiful hump day and a beautiful 7:10. I will see you tomorrow at 7:10 Mountain Time on the dot. And if anybody wants to smoke with me, you should reach out and get in touch with me, because I'll have you on the show, and we can have a nice concentrated party tomorrow. Right? I love all of y'all. Have a good evening. Peace.
I switch here, I'm a strange fuck. Consist on ain't something I could say well. Fill my change into the wishing for a change well. Wish your day is swell life for the next come. And when the next come, pretend that it's the best one. Like I ain't even gonna try and say that to the next one.